Hello, my name is Leia Isabel T. Suarez, and on behalf of Group 4, I will be discussing about the geologic timescale. The geologic timescale is the vast period of time spanned by the Earth's geologic history. This huge span, which encompasses the entire creation and history of the Earth, is divided into four parts. Let's begin with the Eon, which is the first of the four. The Eon is the biggest geologic time interval unit, and it is divided into four periods. The Hadean, the Archean, the Proterozoic, and the Phanerozoic are all parts of the Precambrian period, which accounts for almost 90% of the Earth's history. Let's start with the Hadean Eon, which spans about 4.6 to 3.9 million years and is the oldest period of time. During this time, the Earth was so hot that the only thing left were rocks. Earth coalescing occurred during this eon according to the core accretion model. When Earth formed from a cloud of dust, heavier components like iron salt and lighter materials stayed on top to form the crust. The solid inner core heats the outer liquid layer, causing convection currents to form the Earth's magnetic field, which protects the planet from being blasted away by the sun's harmful rays or cosmic radiation. Earth was bombarded with comets, asteroids, and foreign objects left, right, and center during the late bombardment stage, with some scientists believing that comets bombarded the Earth during this time, causing water to form. Finally, one of the most significant events during this eon is the formation of the Moon, which is described by the huge impact hypothesis as an object the size of Mars accelerating towards the Earth. Gravity drew this object into orbit after it struck the Earth, and has remained in orbit ever since this event. The Archean Eon would be the next stop, with the earliest rocks of the planet dating from 3.9 to 2.5 million years ago. Sedimentary rocks were discovered in the ocean also contained microscopic life forms with bacterial properties. The Earth began to cool during this eon, causing water vapor to condense and form oceans and continents. Volbara was the world's first supercontinent. A new species of life was discovered as well. Cyanobacteria metabolizes their own food and discharged oxygen into the ocean as a waste product. Remember that iron reacts with oxygen, it rusts and turns red. As a result, the seafloor accumulated rusty iron over time. This rusted iron can be found in the various layers of the banded iron formation. The Proterozoic Eon, which lasted 2.5 to 540 million years, introduced an oxygenated atmosphere to the Earth, allowing new species to thrive. Cyanobacteria created stromatolites, which are microbial reefs that pump oxygen into the oceans. Cyanobacteria even jeopardized their own existence due to their own waste oxygen during an oxygen crisis. Many eukaryotic and multicellular species arose on Earth, as well as endosymbiosis and the discovery of algae as the first multicelled organism. For 300 million years, the Earth went into an ice age because the methane was more common in the atmosphere and it created carbon dioxide when coupled with oxygen, and their greenhouse effect was reduced.
Because water shielded harmful radiation, life was once restricted to shallow water. But as oxygen entered the atmosphere, the Earth's ozone layer thickened, allowing life to diversify on land. The rocks discovered during the last eon, the Phanerozoic Eon, which lasted from 540 million years ago to the present, revealed the evidence of fossilized hard body parts of current living organisms. The Mesozoic, Paleozoic, and Cenozoic eras are the three periods that make up the Earth's history. What exactly is an era? The next greatest geologic timescale is era, which is based on the fossil life forms discovered in rock layers and the law of superposition, which states that the oldest layers at the bottom and the layers become progressively younger as the sequence progresses. The Paleozoic era, which lasted from 540 to 248 million years ago, was historically significant because it was the first time animal life was recorded in fossil records. The Cambrian explosion, which began in the period of invertebrates, resulted in the greatest diversification of life in Earth's history. A trilobite is said to be the first large organism to emerge on Earth. The first vertebrate land animal found its way ashore during this period. and the Permian-Triassic extinction occurred in the Paleozoic era due to a huge asteroid strike. During the Mesozoic era, dinosaurs ruled the Earth, which saw numerous firsts, including the first bird and mammal. As reptiles began to lay their hard-shelled eggs on land, Pangaea began to divide into various continents. Conifers began to take over the landscape, and herbivore dinosaurs became increasingly reliant on them for food. The earliest known feathered Mesozoic animal was Archaeopteryx, while the first flowering plants were angiosperms including magnolias.
The Cenozoic era, often known as the Age of Mammals. The dinosaur perished as a result of Cretaceous Paleogene extinction. Homo sapiens, the earliest anatomically modern human, was discovered in Morocco around 200,000 years old with modern faces and stone tools. Following that comes the period. Each era has its own period. The Cambrian era, which lasted more than 55 years, is the first of the Paleozoic era's 6 periods. It also represented the Cambrian explosion, a rapid burst of evolutionary change on Earth. Chordates, hard-bodied brachiopods that look like clams, and arthropods were among the species that arose during this time. The Ordovician period, which lasted 490 to 443 million years ago, was also marked by the great diversification of marine animal life in the Ordovician radiation. By the end of the period, nearly every current phylum of marine invertebrates as well as fish had appeared. During the Silurian period, the Earth's atmosphere developed an ozone layer, which stabilized the climate, halting the patterns of climatic fluctuation that produced continental glaciation on a regular basis. The melting contributed to a significant rise in sea level. The diversification and evolution of fish occurred during this period of rapid spread of jellyfish, with the first species of Romondina being the earliest known fish to have jaws.
Devonian period, often known as the Age of Fishes, saw the birth of ammonites, starfish, corals, crinoid stems, and other living creatures. Placoderms also underwent broad diversification and became dominating marine predators during this time. Despite the fact that the Devonian is known as the Age of Fishes, significant changes in plant, invertebrate, and other vertebrate life forms occurred during the Devonian period. Land plants, for example, began to diversity dramatically. In addition, the first trees, seeds, and soil appeared, allowing plants to reproduce in dry land.
The Carboniferous period, which lasted from 358.9 to 298.9 million years ago, and is known as the Age of Bugs. It is known for its very volatile nature, with nearly every species battling for dominance. During this time, the majority of the coal we use today was formed. The vast land masses of America and Gondwana continued to march toward each other and collide during the Carboniferous period. Some of the ground was lifted and became mountains as a result of the collisions.
Finally, there was the Permian period, which lasted over 50 million years. The Earth's crustal plates fused together during the Permian period to form Pangaea, a massive continent. In Pantalasa's vast ocean, marine species such as brachiopods, gastropods, cephalopods, nautiloids, and ammonoids and crinoids were discovered. On land, reptiles have mostly replaced amphibians. The most catastrophic mass extinction event in Earth's history occurred at the end of Permian period.
The Mesozoic era is divided into 3 parts. The first is Triassic period, which is one of the most fascinating and mysterious periods in human history. It is divided into 3 stages: the Indian and the Olenician. Archosaurus, or ruling reptiles, are a group of diapsive animals that includes crocodiles, dinosaurs, birds, and pterosaurs that developed from the reptiles. There was also the first appearance of the genuine dinosaurs, one of which is Euraptor, which is about the size of cat. The next period is the Jurassic period, which spans the middle of the Mesozoic era, includes some of the most famous dinosaurs such as the Stegosaurus, Diplodocus, and the Brachiosaurus. The Archaeopteryx, a hybrid of dinosaur and bird, lived during this time period, marking the missing evolutionary link between the two, while the Ichthyosaurus was the most iconic marine reptile of the early Jurassic. Cretaceous period marked the rise and the fall of the dinosaurs. This period saw significant changes in climate skis were home predatory giants. This was the time of the famous Tyrannosaurus rex, colossal marine reptiles, and the enormous flying reptiles. And the first flowering plants appeared and rapidly diversified, but is ended with the best known was the extinction event of the time, the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. There are two phases in the last era, the Cenozoic era. The first is the Paleogene period, which lasted from 66 to 23.03 million years ago and is renowned as the rise of animals. Vegetation from the Paleogene period are very similar to those found now on Earth, and the period was ideal for dense forests, plants due to the warm environment. Because of the great extinction, new creatures were able to take their place. Mammals overtook birds as the dominating species.
In the last period, the Quaternary period is where we are living right now, which only began 2.58 million years ago. Glaciers covered around 30% of the Earth's surface about 22,000 years ago, despite differences in glacial progress between continents. In what is now Europe and North America, huge grasslands known as mammoth steppes existed ahead of the glaciers. Because they were well adapted to the cold, massive herbivores such as mammoth, mastodon, enormous bison, and woolly rhinoceros thrive in these steppes. These animals were preyed upon by large carnivores such as saber-toothed cats, cave bears, and dire wolves. However, as a result of changes in climate and food resources, the mass extinction of the greatest herbivores and their predators occurred, and a new predator, man, emerged.
Following period, we have epoch, which are used by geologists and paleontologists to further characterize the conditions associated with specific time period. The Paleocene epoch is the first in the Paleogene period. Paleocene epoch is the first division of worldwide rocks in the Paleogene period, extending from 66 to 56 million years ago. Marine rocks of Paleocene age are rather rare. Therefore, much of the information about this epoch comes from terrestrial deposits. Birds began to diversify throughout this time frame as well. The Eocene period follows with the replacement of the ancient mammalian species by modern ones. It is the first appearance of the cetaceans, which include whales, dolphins, and sirenians, the first completely marine mammal group. The Oligocene epoch is the last epoch of the Paleogene period, and is when the first elephants with trunks, early horses, and various grasses first appeared. An invasion of the sea began at the beginning of the epoch, bringing with it the new mollusks were the characteristics of the epoch.
In the Neogene period, there are two epochs. The first is the Miocene, which saw a change in global circulation patterns due to slight continent position adjustments and worldwide warmer climates. During this time frame, the direct ancestors of foxes and wolves were also discovered. Australopithecus evolved during the Pliocene epoch, and this is thought to be ancestor of modern humans. It was also the time of great migration as the sea levels continued to drop, allowing animals to freely travel and roam. The Pleistocene epoch, which saw huge ice sheets and other glaciers form repeatedly on land masses, and has been informally referred to as the Great Ice Age, saw the loss of many large mammals such as mammoths and ground sloths. Finally, the Holocene period, also known as the recent epoch, saw the domestication of both plants and animals, as well as the beginnings of agriculture. Long before the Holocene period began, Homo sapiens had evolved and dispersed around the planet.
I was hanging with you, and then I realized I didn't think it was true. I was surprised when I found out I'd fallen for you.